figuring out if Mary likes to cackle or crackle or what. No, just kidding. That was fun. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm reading 1230. I'd like to start. This is the Audit Committee, Sandag Audit Committee, Friday, July 8th, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. And before we get started, I'd like to ask our interpreter, Alberto Diaz, to introduce herself and walk through how to access our interpretation services today. Alberto?
Thank you, Chair. We'll begin with the announcement in Spanish, and then we will be back with the announcement in English. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, favor de desplazarse a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom, celular, tableta, etcétera, presione los puntos suspensivos, luego interpretación y luego el idioma. Announcement now in English. To use the Zoom interpretation feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are. Click on the interpretation icon, World, and select either English, Spanish. If you are joining using the Zoom mobile app, cell phone, tablet, etc., please press the ellipsis, 3 dots, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Gracias, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Alberto. To continue with my tradition of putting people on the spot, since Stuart, you have that awesome flag behind you, would you be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure, if my voice holds up.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Thank you, Stuart. Awesome. Now we will go ahead and yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'd like to state for the record that we do have a quorum for this meeting.
Perfect, thank you. So the first item is to go with the approval of minutes. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on the minutes? Seeing
there
none.
Are no public members, come on, that would like to comment.
Any panelists have any, or any committee members have comments? Seeing none, I did have one comment, which is I'd like to have the minutes updated to reflect that I had adjourned the meeting in honor of the memory of Mary Zito. Outside of that, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes with those changed. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Bob, Tessa, can you call the vote?
For item number 1, as amended, Chair Zito.
Zito, yes.
Honorable Ed Musgrove.
Yes.
Ms. Nickerson is absent. Stuart Halpern.
Halpern, yes.
And Robert Monson.
Monson, yes.
And that item passes with those members present.
Thank you. We now move on to public comments and communications. Do we have any members of the public for comments? Seeing none with their hands raised. Any board members have any public comments or statements? I don't see any hands up or anybody waving at me. So we will then go ahead on to the agency report. And I believe we have Ray here for that.
Yeah, good afternoon, Chair Zito. Actually, Ray Major
Andre
is on vacation this week, so I'll be doing the agency report today. So good afternoon, committee members. I hope you all had a good 4th of July weekend. I'm happy to share some great news from Sacramento for Sandag and the San Diego region. Last week, Governor Newsom signed a state budget package, which includes billions of dollars for public transit, active transportation, grade separations, and climate adaptation projects. The biggest win for our region is the $300 million that Sandag received for the Lausanne Rail Realignment Project near Del Mar. We've been talking about this project for decades, and with this funding, we can finally move forward for the design and environmental work needed to move the tracks off of the bluffs. Additionally, this down payment provides the San Diego region the resources to leverage additional federal funding opportunities for construction. We are grateful for Senator President Pro Tem Atkins. Under her leadership, we're able to make sure this year's state budget will help make the vision in the regional plan a reality. I also want to recognize Senator Ben Hueso for securing $20 million for SANDAG to pay down bond balances. SANDAG uses bonds to deliver projects quickly, and this offers us a chance to continue to maximize our funding as much as we can to serve the people of this region. We're really proud of all the work from the SANDAG staff who worked diligently to make this possible. In June, we also learned that we received $1 million grant from Buena Vista Lagoon Enhancement Project from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. This is a significant investment to complete environmental, engineering, and design work. This is something that we've also been working on for many years and is the last lagoon to be rehabilitated in our region. We recently learned about the RENA litigation, and the Court of Appeal issued its opinion in the case. The decision was in SANDAG's favor on all accounts, upholding the trial court's dismissal of the underlying lawsuit. The court found that the RENA statutory framework precludes judicial review of RENA determinations consistent with the City of Irvine versus Southern California Association of Governments case that was a primary focus of the trial court's decision. The petitioning cities may seek further review at the California Supreme Court. If that happens, we should know by late summer where the court will review the case. In other news, last month, SANDAG, Caltrans, and MTS successfully launched the Bus on Shoulder pilot project as part of the South Rapid Transit route. While buses traveling on the shoulder is not a new idea, our project is the first in the country using transit vehicle to infrastructure technology, which allows buses to commute with freeway ramp meters. The driver assistant technology includes sensors that monitor the lanes and provide audio and visual alerts to help operators avoid potential conflicts. We want to make sure that safety is at the forefront of this pilot project as we look to seek how we can really maximize our current system to make transit more reliable for our communities. We're bringing a report to the Board of Directors in September to give them an update on the pilot. Also make sure you know the latest after that meeting. As you know, SANDAG's Youth Opportunity Pass program started on May 1st. In 1 month, we increased youth ridership by 38% from the transit ridership count we received from our transit operators back in June. As the Youth Opportunity Pass program continues, we are excited to see how our youth can connect to the rest of our region. On Otay Mesa East, we are gearing up to celebrate the completion of the southbound SR 125 to westbound SR 905 connector ramp. Completion of this connector will enhance regional mobility as a critical component of the SR 11 Otay Mesa East Port of Entry project, a federal, state, and local priority. The connector is one of the last remaining infrastructure improvements underway that will ultimately support mobility to and from the future port of entry, helping to fuel economic growth and bolster binational trade. There's also a nice warm-up to the groundbreaking of the port of entry that will happen later this year. And lastly, I wanted to share that we have recently completed our triennial review with the Federal Transit Administration. SANDAG was highly praised by the FTA and the consultant who conducted the reviews. Some of the notes they gave us at the exit conference were: our commitment to DBE program is best in class and the nicest DBE documentation they've seen. Our 5310 program management is best in practice, and coordination among departments is excellent. They also praised our procurement file documentation and drawdown documentation, and noted other areas during the process, such as the public participation process, equal employment opportunities, civil rights, and protest process. Like Hassan and Ray have said before, we welcome reviews like this because they make us a better agency. It was great to hear from one of our most important funders that we are responsible stewards of public funds. That concludes my report, and I'll turn it back to you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. That's great news on the win from the state. So looking forward to being able to make some progress with the Del Mar Bluffs rail realignment project. Looks like we have a lot of opportunity with that now, which is perfect. Any attendee or any public comments for the executive
There are
report?
no public comments on this item.
Okay, thank you. Any board members have questions or comments on the report given by Andre? Stuart.
Yeah, I just had one. Excuse me. Thank you, Andre. Just one question. With regard to the toll road remediation plan, I understand that on an interim basis, Sandag's got one of its most capable senior executives overseeing that, but that there is an intended hire for a new executive to be brought in to oversee that on a more permanent basis. I'm curious if there's been any progress on that front.
Yes, Stuart. So the good news is that we had our interviews about 3 weeks ago. We made an offer approximately 2 weeks ago, and an offer is pending. We expect it to be signed early next week, with the intent that this person will be starting in mid-August at this point.
Great, thank you. Excellent news.
Perfect. Any other board member comments? Seeing none, we will go to item 4, the update from the Office of the Independent Auditor. Mary.
Good afternoon, everybody. Please let me know if you guys are having difficulties hearing me, and then I'll turn off my video because that might help the matter. But I do see some unstable internet service here. So last week or the week before last, we attended a 1-week fraud conference. Me and my staff. It was a great conference. It was very useful for us, and it was very relevant. The last 2 days focuses on full-time classroom settings, and the focus was on contracts and procurement fraud. So it was very useful tool for us. It helped us with some additional testing that we're going to be doing. It was a really great conference, very useful and helpful information. The contracts audit is moving along. As I shared with you in the past, we're doing it in 2 parts. Part 1 is more of the internal look at the agency around policies and procedures, following them, the training provided, system controls, et cetera. And that audit is due to come to the committee most likely in September. Is what we're gearing towards. And then the second part will follow around October or even the beginning of November. That's the external look, looking at directly at the contractors themselves and making sure there's adherence to the contract. Hiring, still looking, not been real successful. I sadly will say we're struggling with a desire for people to move and relocate to a very expensive area for what we're offering. I've reached out to some. I've had some really great conversations with some really good potentials. And in the end, when they looked around for cost of living in San Diego, it was a no. So, looking at the salary that's being offered, even at the top, and the options for people to relocate at that salary, it's just been a no. So I know that Hassan is dealing with the same thing on the other end. And, hopefully we'll all be working together to recognize that, that the cost of living in San Diego, along with the overall inflation, has really a big impact and hard to retain good resources as a result. So I keep trying, we keep looking, I keep reaching out and hoping that I will find somebody. We have 2 positions that we need to fill, plus 2 intern positions. The good news is we do have someone that joined us that has been working, actually came from the port doing contracts and procurement, and then has been with Sandag for a year or so doing contracts and procurement, and working jointly with Hassan and Ray, recognizing a need for a continuous auditing / QC review around contracts and procurement that is an independent eye. We have moved one of Crystal, one of the individuals that was a contract analyst, into OPA to become a QC / auditor that will continuously be looking at the processes around contracts and procurement and helping bring improvement proactively on an ongoing basis versus waiting to the audit to come out and going from there. So this is a really a joint effort to work proactively between management and I. As we've been doing the audit, we've been keeping them in the loop, letting them know what we're finding and how that individual could really help bring in processes and put things in place on the forefront rather than waiting for after the fact. So that's a great thing. I think she's going to be an awesome asset to the OPA. Not only will we train her how to audit, but she brings a wealth of understanding from management's perspective around contracts and procurement, which will benefit. It will be a nice blend. And that's really it for an update. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thanks, Mary. Are there any members of the public that have questions?
There are no public commenters on this item.
Okay, any committee members have questions or comments? Seeing Stuart.
Thanks, Chair Zito. Just one thing I'm just curious about, Mary, and I know we'll get into this when you do the presentation on the actual reviews, but just in a real ballpark sense, could you give us a sense of the scope of like how many contracts is Sandag putting out in the course of a year? What sort of order of magnitude, just really roughly?
There's that. I'm gonna have to refer to Lloyd to answer that, but there are hundreds that are from small sole source to non-contract POs that go without a competitive bid, to having to competitively bid, to pulling from the bench, but you still have to do a somewhat of a competitive bid there too. So there's hundreds, and this is a chunk. The audit is intended to identify areas that need improvement and to identify the cause and effect of that, which is why the focus on the next year's plan is really to then take individual contracts and do thorough, detailed reviews of each of those contracts, because there is a need for that on a continuous basis, which is how we'll treat that. And one more thing, Stuart, that you did remind me that I failed to discuss, and that was I now have 14 open investigations, of which 3 are pretty high priority type investigations. And I am barely able to even scratch on one of them because I am the only one doing the investigations. So I have spoken with Hassan and Ray, and they are supportive of it. I'm considering hiring a temporary retired and new that have done investigations that work and live already here in San Diego that might have interest in coming on part-time and helping me out on the investigations, just so I'm able to start picking away at some of those high priority ones, because it's just becoming a little bit overwhelming and just the resources are not there. So that is a good thing that Hassan is completely on board with, completely supportive of. So we will be doing that to get some temporary help in here.
Great, thanks. And just quick follow on, excuse me, with regard to resources, given the number of contracts and the number of material contracts, do you feel like the one QC ongoing auditor is actually sufficient for what the risk in that area would be, recognizing one's better than none? But would you say that one actually is the solution, or do you feel like that's really not a sufficient solution, and for permanent auditing you'd really need an additional resource?
Thanks, Stuart. Well, we all know when I first came here and we did a very deep dive analysis of how many auditors are truly needed. Contracts, of course, was one of the highest risk and one of the biggest areas that need to be audited. It's a very inherently high risk and also control-wise high risk at this agency. We identified a need for 15 auditors. That's just all there is to it. And 15 auditors would be part of that, would be to help support around QC, as well as help do investigations. We don't have that. We don't have the resources for it. And even though we do have open positions, we're having trouble filling those due to the cost of living. So my answer to you is no, that is not sufficient. But it's better than nothing. I'm excited to have that position because it can start to really show the impact and the benefit of having such type positions and having them independently work under my office versus under management. So there's going to show a benefit, and hopefully with that benefit, additional resources will be provided to allow for more QC reviews and auditors, and hopefully that's the goal. But right now my focus is I really would love to have more positions. The problem is I want the positions that I have filled, and that's my first goal, right? Is I need to get those filled.
Got it, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Great comment, Stuart. And I mean, I guess not, but something to mull over as we go forward. I do know that when Sandag first was looking at how to meet the AB 805 requirement, discussion of whether we do it in-house or not. And so the question becomes, still, is there an ability to enhance your staff's capability through contracting and outsourcing, which I fully understand is not the optimal solution, but is it an acceptable solution? I think it's something we should probably look into and have conversations at some other time about, just to understand what that might look like if we continue to have trouble hiring, which I suspect we might.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you, Chair Zito, but in the end, we've done this analysis many times at other agencies around auditing, and it's always a cost benefit to hire and have internal auditors than it is to have external hiring and consultants. They're far more expensive and they lack the continuity that is necessary. So.
Yeah, no, understood. Okay, thanks. Seeing no other board member comments, we are moving on to the regular agenda, item number 5, which is the appointment of subcommittee members for the request for proposals for financial and compliance audit. And Yen Ho, I believe you're taking this one.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, Chair Zito and committee members. I am Yen Ho, SANDAG's finance manager. In accordance with board policy number 39, the audit committee has the responsibility to recommend to the board of directors which firm to contract with to conduct the annual financial statement audits. To keep the fiscal year 2018 interim audit on schedule, a procurement to select an audit firm was necessary prior to the formation of the audit committee. This procurement resulted in the execution of a 5-year contract with the independent audit firm Crowe LLP. The initial term of the contract was from May 2018 to June 2021, with 2 additional 1-year options to renew. SANDAG had exercised the 2 years options with the contract set to expire in June 2023. The procurement process to select and engage an audit firm takes about 9 months to complete. The process includes review the scope of work to be performed, draft and issue of the RFP, score and shortlist the proposals, and select and contract the winner. The audit committee is asked to appoint no more than 2 voting members to serve on the audit service RFP subcommittee. Do we have any volunteers?
Oh, isn't it normal to volunteer the people who aren't present?
That's up to you.
So does anybody in the group have an interest in serving on this subject? Well, actually, first question is, I'm presuming the voters are there to provide just guidance and support, and that much of the work of creation of the RFP and doing through the process is done by staff, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So
I've done this on behalf of the ITAC, and I'd be happy to do it.
okay, thanks, Stuart. I'm happy to participate as well. So if that works, I'd entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, and I'll second.
Okay.
Thanks. Please call for the vote, Tessa.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to, I couldn't hear. Was it Robert Munson that made this motion?
Oh, sorry.
Musgrove.
Sounded like Ed to
Musgrove.
me.
Oh, thank you so
Yes.
much. I
You're welcome.
apologize.
Mhm.
It was scratchy like Mary's voice. So on item 5, Chair Zito,
Yes.
Councilmember Musgrove,
Yes.
Ms. Wong Nickerson is absent, Mr. Halpern,
Halpern, yes.
and Mr. Munson.
Monson, yes.
That item passes unanimously with those members present.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 6, which is the Office of the Independent Performance Auditor peer review results. Mary.
I would like to state for the record that there were no public comments on
Yeah.
item 5.
Right, I noted that. Thank you for that.
Hello again. This will be really quick. I am happy to announce we had our first peer review. As everyone may or may not be aware, we are to follow GAGAS, the government generally accepted government auditing standards per AB 805, as well as myself being a CPA, I'm required to assure that we are following professional standards. I'm happy to say we are due ours every 3 years, which recently passed in April. We had completed our peer review just at the end of June. The letter is attached. Happy to announce that we passed with flying colors. Typically, there's a management letter that has additional and a few recommendations. There was no management letter attached with this. I know that there's been questions in the past as far as we need to be peer reviewed and are we peer reviewed? And so I'm happy to answer that we have been peer reviewed. We are peer reviewed, and we are not just sometimes, but all the time following professional auditing standards. And I knew I would because I'm a stickler for it. So I'm very proud of my staff and my office and myself for being successful in this and having this, not only that we passed, but the fact that we passed with not even a management attachment letter. And I'm very proud of that. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. If you want to look at the work papers, the process is very rigorous. It's just like we are ourselves being audited. The peer reviewer looks at all of the audits that we did, and he thoroughly goes through it. He looks at our training, our CPE hours. He looks at our policies and procedures and our procedural manual to make sure it's adherence to professional auditing standards. He looks at our reports and our work papers to make sure we're adhering to professional auditing standards in all aspects. And he basically performs a full audit of our processes and our audits. And so it's a very thorough process. He is happy to speak with anyone, share work papers with anyone. And I do have his contact information should anyone be interested in contacting him. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
Great, Mary. Do we have any members of the public with comments?
There
or
are no
questions?
members of the public for this item.
Okay, I'll just start by myself by saying congratulations, Mary, in this forum. This is a good accomplishment, as you said, and it reflects highly of you and your staff and doing a good job for our agency, and that's appreciated. And I'm very happy that you can now go around and say you have passed a review. So that's good. It'll be good that you can check that box off your list of responses. Are there? And so, yeah, on behalf of the board, congratulations and thank you for all your hard work. Any other board member comments or questions? Bob.
Yeah, just Mary, you know how I feel about these peer reviews. Having had to go through several of them myself, it's no easy feat. And so just to congratulate you and especially congratulate your staff for doing such a great job with that. And that's all I had to say.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Any other comments or questions? That item was for discussion only, and so now we move on to item number 7, and this is a closed session. I just want to make sure before we all exit that everybody has the link to the closed session. Councilmember Musgrove, since you're serving as an alternate, do you have a link for the closed session?
I don't believe I
And
do.
just to clarify, Chair, I just emailed the closed session link again to the committee members. It should be in their inbox from me, actually, around 12:58.
Okay, did that include Councilmember Musgrove?
I believe so. I will double check.
Okay, thanks.
So, Chair, do we need to log out of this meeting completely and then come back to it?
Yes, we will have to exit this meeting and then come back using the link that's in your email inbox to start the closed session. So I just want to confirm that Stuart, Bob, Mary, Amberling, you'll have a link.
Yes, and Chair, if I could just interrupt briefly, if we could just make sure that we call for public comments prior to adjourning to closed session.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. Okay, sounds like not seeing anyone say no, so Tessa, do we have any public comments on item number 7 before we go to closed session?
There are no public commenters on this item.
Okay,
And I do want to confirm that I just sent Councilmember Musgrove the link for the closed session again.
perfect.
Let
Thank
me
you.
double
So
check,
we're-
make sure it's in my inbox.
Yeah, and Chair Zito, just as information, I don't have the link because I'm not part of the closed session.
Oh, okay. I wasn't actually intending that.
Is that, if I could ask, is that something that actually is mandatory as part of the closed session process?
No. No, it isn't. And actually, unless, I mean, I think well, my advice is we should invite Mary, and if we feel like there's a point we want to discuss something in which we don't want her present, then we can ask her to leave at that point. But that's how I've normally handled it in my other jurisdictions. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yes, Chair, if I could just clarify for purposes of the Brown Act, it is necessary staff that may be invited to attend. So if the audit committee does determine that Mary's presence is necessary, then she is able to attend.
Yes. And I would conclude that as well. Okay, so Tessa, can you forward the link to Mary, please?
She's on it. She did it.
Perfect. Okay.
I did.
Ed, do you have your link, Ed?
Yes, I do. I'm ready to go.
Okay, so I'm exiting and I'll see you all in closed session. So Francesca, do we have you?
About that, Chair. We're in the process of getting everybody moved back over, and I'll let you know when we're ready to get started.
Okay, great.
Chair, we do have a quorum, and we're ready to start when you are.
Okay, thanks. And do we have, yes, we do have Amberlynn back. Great. So we are returning out of closed session, item number 7 for the performance evaluation for Mary Kay as the Independent Performance Auditor, and there was no action, no reportable action taken. Evaluation and compensation adjustment for the Independent Performance Auditor. Item number 8, and Amberlynn, I guess we will start with this one with a question for you, if you're online.
I am online and available.
Okay, great, thanks. The question was one of the closed session material, which was the survey responses for Mary Kay's performance evaluation. Are there any SANDAG policies or other issues of us making that available to the public and then just attaching it as a report to this item for record purposes?
I believe we could do that. I will do a quick review for any privilege, but I believe we could post that if that is the wish of the audit committee.
Okay, yes, that we'll include that in any motion that's made for this particular item. Hopefully remember, and then see if that can become possible. So so this is a continuation of Mary Kay's performance evaluation and compensation discussion. I'll just summarize. We had a short conversation in closed session that we did do earlier part of her performance evaluation, which was excellent, and that the survey results in general were very positive and a very strong result, and which shows the great performance and great outcomes that is happening from the audit committee. So congratulations, Mary Kay. And I think there was also some meaningful and useful comments in the feedback that was given, and so that can be great. But I believe, speaking on behalf of the audit committee, that and anybody else can chime in, that Mary, you're doing a great job. We appreciate the work that you're doing with respect to the audit side, and you know, it's very clear reading the comments that people understand that you're a rules stickler, that you're an incredibly hard worker, and those two things kept popping up over and over again, and it's very much appreciated that you do know the rules. Your knowledge in the area is very strong, and you're an incredibly hard worker, and you like to make sure we follow the rules and have good policies and procedures in place. So that is definitely greatly appreciated by all members of this committee. I think the one area of feedback that I noted out of that, which I think I've even brought it before, is we've definitely made great strides, but continuing to figure out how to present our material in a way that makes it more difficult for it to be sensationalized and be taken out of context will also be helpful. And that's a fine art, because we need to present the material as per all the audit rules, but we just need to be very cautious that they're just, you know, we aren't doing anything to help the people that like to abuse the material that this committee creates in the public forum, because that doesn't do anybody any good, which is, it's unfortunate that it's happening, but it definitely has been happening. But I did see some comments in there about that. I'll start out Francesca now. Are there any public member comments on this item?
I don't see any hands from the public on this.
With respect to okay, then I'll move on. With respect to the compensation item, we have a bunch of data, and my request, if people are supportive, is that we form a subcommittee consisting of committee member Halpern and myself to come up with a report and recommendations for the next meeting, and that we keep a August meeting on the schedule so that we can keep this moving forward in a timely manner. And so I would at least request that we go ahead in that direction, unless people have other ideas that they would like to discuss and think of. And so at this point, I'll open it up to other committee members for feedback, comments, and or thoughts on my proposal. I do think it is important. We probably should, when we agendize the August meeting, include just the general review topic again. I think it's unfortunate that we have two regular members missing today, and I would like to make sure, as much as we can, that when we go forward and have the next discussion, that we have a full complement of committee members, because that's very important in a topic as important as this. So any comments or thoughts?
Should we check with those members, Chair, to see if they're available?
Well, I just noticed that Bob is an attendee. Can we promote Bob to a panelist?
The team just moved him over.
Okay, thank you. Ed, did you make a comment? Sorry, I missed that.
So kind of feeding on your comment about full attendance, should we check to see if the mayor and Ms. Nickerson are available for August?
I would like to do a check. I would even be inclined to consider alternate Fridays. I mean, I'm assuming most of Sandag is going dark in August. I don't know what the results are of the other committees, but I'm even willing to consider moving the date of the meeting around to do our best to make sure that we have full attendance. And so, you know, I'll work with either Tessa or Francesca to say, go out, can we find a date in August? I would assume Sandag would prefer a Friday that we can all make ourselves available, so we can have a full attendance at that meeting. Okay.
Tito, is this a solely closed session that will be held, or is it a regular?
I assume this will be all open session.
Okay.
Yeah. Bob.
Yeah, I just wanted to, you can all hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, right. And thank you, Chair Zito, for recognizing that I wasn't on. For some reason, my computer kicked me out completely. So thank you for recognizing. Just a quick comment. I think it's a really good idea, Chair Zito, that you have come up with Stuart and yourself, I think, being on a subcommittee. It's really important that we give Mary what she deserves. And I think we need to take some time. And I know, Mary, you might wanted us to have a decision this month, but I think it's really important that we take time to consider what her raise is going to be, just due to the work that she puts forth and things like that. So I'm totally in favor with the subcommittee and taking some more time.
Okay.
That's it.
Chair Zito, I'd like
Think about it.
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
I'm in favor of it as well. Not happy about it, but understand the importance of it, not just for me, but for any IPA that follows me. I think it's unfortunate and not at any fault of the audit committee, because you guys have all worked very hard, both this time and last time, that I have to always wait. You know, the first 2 times it was 2 years, then 1 year, and now it's probably going to be 6 months late at least. And I know it's because the audit committee is trying to do their diligence, and I appreciate that. But in looking at this, hopefully what can, in addition to some other changes, can come out of this whole subcommittee is some additional fairness that I don't believe has been applied to the IPA's process. But not only that, I have and am held to a completely different standard and measure of everybody than everybody else at Sandag. So the process of my review takes a lot longer. And so my request would be for the audit committee or someone in management and HR to notice the audit committee at least 4 months in advance that says her performance review or the IPA's performance review is due in April, and it takes us a good 3 months to 4 months to get everything done. So we need to start that process now, because, you know, frankly, had I not reached out to you and you not been so proactive about getting it, you know, right away on, it would have been far later than even 6 or 7 months. And so I think it's fair that everyone be treated fairly.
Yeah, so Mary, I think that's a really great comment, and I appreciate you bringing it up. I think one of my objectives in working with Stuart and yourself on the subcommittee will be to arrive at a structure at how these will occur from now on out, which is the meeting in April, we'll do X, the meeting in May, we'll do Y, the meeting in June, we'll do, and just say this is how it's going to be every year from now on out, and we'll figure out what the right dates are and the right milestones are, and just get it set down. Because yeah, Stuart, I've talked with Stuart before, you know, offline, and he's made some good comments about we need to get our own processes in shape, and we need to set this whole committee up and your position up for success, so they don't have this type of angst distracting us from the real work that's going on. So yeah. Good thoughts, and definitely something I'd like to see done as well. So with that, I'll go, I'd entertain a motion to release the survey results as part of this item, as well as appointing Stuart and myself to a subcommittee for coming up with a report on the compensation recommendation, and then making sure that we continue to have a meeting in August.
Did we hear back? I'm sorry, Rob, did we hear back from Amber Lynn on that issue?
Yeah, we did. Sorry. Yeah, she said that.
Or did I miss it?
She said they're going to have to groom it first and make sure there's nothing in there that can't be disclosed, but that after it's groomed, it can be released.
Excellent.
Yes, reviewed. So Amber Lynn will have to review it first, but outside of that, we're good. I think I saw Bob make such a motion, and Stuart, were you seconding?
I just, from a point of information like purpose, if I could, my understanding is, and Amber Lynn could weigh in, that if the scheduled meeting date is not a date that we're going to have full attendance, there's kind of a process of canceling, calling a special meeting if it's an alternative date and things of that nature. If I'm Amber Lynn could correct me, which doesn't create an impediment to making it happen, but I think there are some procedural things if we end up not going with the regularly scheduled date that we all
You're correct.
pay attention to.
There are a few procedural items that we would need to handle just because it would be considered a special meeting if it occurs outside the regular meeting schedule of the audit committee, but staff can certainly coordinate with Chair Zito on getting feedback for the appropriate date and take care of those steps.
Great. Thanks for clarifying.
Great.
And I'd be happy to second the motion if I could.
So we have a motion and a second. Francesca, can you call for the vote?
Thank you very much. Board Member Chair Zito,
Zito, yes.
Board Member, Councilmember Musgrove,
Musgrove, yes.
Public Member Agnes Wong Nickerson. Oh, my apologies, she's absent today. Public Member Stuart Halpern,
Halpern, yes.
and Public Member Bob Monson.
Monson, yes.
Thank you very much. And that item passes unanimously with those members present.
Great. Thanks for the flexibility and the consideration, and we'll try to get this wrapped up in the next meeting. Our next, that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. Our next audit committee meeting has been scheduled for Friday, September 9th, 2022. So I guess we will at 12:30 p.m., but we will be holding an August meeting. I presume the initial effort will be at the regularly scheduled time of Friday, August 12th. That's interesting. Sorry, my notes appear to say Friday, August. So which one is the right one? Sorry, you've got me curious now. Yeah, the run of the show has the wrong month. So yes, the next meeting
is Friday.
Yes, the 12th is the Friday in August. The next regular scheduled meeting is Friday, August 12th, 2022. It is now not expected to be canceled. And so we will, unless we cannot maintain full membership. So I hope to all see you then. Otherwise, we will be figuring out a separate date. Thanks for your engagement today, and hope everybody has a good weekend. We're adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.